Whoa, whoopsie daisy. I nearly went and forgot to do a video today. Silly me. I've been getting a bunch of requests to review cards that have appeared in the anime lately. Not that there's anything wrong with that, guys, but seriously, I can review stuff like the Signer Dragons whenever. It's not as though they'll stop being relevant anytime soon, and if their use actually does decline, well, that would actually give me more to talk about when the time comes. Now, excuse me while I go and be a massive hypocrite, because today I feel like reviewing the Infernity Archetype on account I've seen a lot of unnecessary hate being thrown their way lately. Hopefully I can shed some, light on what they are now and where they'll hopefully be going in the future. For those of you who don't know, the Infernity Archetype is used in the 5Ds anime by Kyosuke Kiryu, or Callan Kessler for those of you who follow the dub. To avoid going off on a big tangent, I'm just going to say that Kiryu was one of Yusei's old friends that happened to go just a little bit crazy, and at that point his deck changed to use the Infernity monsters. This archetype honestly does look horrendous at first glance, as they require you to have no cards in your hand to have their effects turned on. But after careful consideration, I'm seeing a lot of potential power here, even after only a few cards. So let's take a look at what we've got here, starting with those promos that I'm sure everyone merely tossed aside after opening up their World Championship 2009 game. Infernity Dwarf. Okay, I probably shouldn't have started with this guy. While you have no cards in your hand, all your monsters inflict piercing damage. That's nice and all, but the dwarf himself is really, really weak, and he's not gonna do anything by himself. Yeah. Get out of our Yu-Gi-Ohs and go back to World of Warcraft where you belong. Okay, thanks, bye. Next up is Infernity Guardian. While you have no cards in your hand, this card cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects. Wait a minute. What? Am I reading this right? An invincible monster? That's pretty crazy. If only it extended to all other Infernity monsters for the lulz. It's a fairly undersized monster itself, but it is definitely worth having at least one around, considering it can fodder tribute or synchro summons. Not to mention be a general nuisance that not many people have an answer to in their main deck. Who else was in this game? Infernity Archfiend. If you draw it while you have no cards in your hand, you can special summon it. That's very nice. It's like Destiny Hero Dasher all over again. Except it can pop out when drawn in any way, which is the beauty part. So if you have no cards in your hand and draw it off of something like Jar of Greed, you can special summon it on the spot, even during your opponent's turn. Beautiful. In addition to this, if it is special summoned while you have no cards in your hand, you can add one Infernity card from your deck to your hand. Wow! Holy! This thing is downright amazing theme support. And on top of that, it's a nice big beater to boot. Definitely a 3 of in any Infernity build, since it doesn't care how it's special summoned. I'm just amazed at the design on this one. It's going to have a lot of potential combos, and it's going to get a lot stronger in the future when we get more Infernity cards to fetch. Infernity Destroyer. This card actually came with the guidebook for World Championship 2009 in Japan, but the TCG doesn't have it yet, although I'm expecting it to pop up in the near future. It's fairly weak for a 1 tribute monster, but when it destroys a monster and sends it to the graveyard in battle while you have no hand, it inflicts 1600 burn damage to the opponent on top of the battle damage. Ouch. This guy hits, and he hits hard. Definitely worth having at least 1 or 2 in an Infernity deck, simply because it's a powerhouse. Enough said. Moving on, Ancient Prophecy brought us Infernity Beast. While you have no cards in your hand, it behaves a lot like the Ancient Gear monsters, not allowing your opponent to activate any spells or traps until after the damage step when it attacks. I really wish this applied to all Infernity monsters, but alas, it doesn't. As a result, it's decent but fairly underwhelming. It does let you tap into the power of Rescue Cat, though, which is always a good thing. You could grab it and Airbellum. Synchro options. Whatever. Stardust Overdrive gave us a couple more gems. Infernity Necromancer is shifted to defense position when it is normal summoned. And then, while you have no hand, you can special summon an Infernity monster from your graveyard once per turn. Holy! This thing is insane! Considering it has no sort of restriction on what Infernity monster it can bring back, and what said monster can do. Oh man, this thing is only going to get stronger as time goes on as well. Even now it's got some crazy combos with Destroyer and Archfiend. Like, bring back Destroyer, beat face, bring back Archfiend, fetch, say... well, just any Infernity card. It's definitely something you're going to be running 3 of. Necromancer, that is. Although Archfiend is a 3 of as well, as far as I'm concerned. And then the first of their direct spell and trap support, I should say. Infernity Force. It's a Sakuretsu armor for Infernities while you have no hand, that generates a +1 in the form of any Infernity monster from your graveyard. Now, this card does not outclass Mirror Force or Torrential Tribute, but you'll be throwing these into the deck after those, for sure. This thing also has no restriction on what Infernity monster it can bring back. So you can bring back Archfiend, search a card, bring back Necromancer, revive more stuff next turn, bring back Destroyer for a big beater. I'm just loving the graveyard combos these guys have. It's so good. So good. For now, that's all the more they really have in the way of direct support, but Kiryu has recently returned in the 5D's anime in Season 3, so they're going to get more support in the future, hopefully. And even without more direct support, there are a lot of existing cards that already work nicely with them. The whole Infernity approach is to run very few monsters, but a bunch of defensive, chainable spell and trap cards. So you can summon one monster and then set your whole hand, so you have no hand, but you have all this massive amount of field presence. You can use stuff like Threatening Roar to protect your dudes, Bottomless Trap Hole, kill off your opponent's guys, Jar of Greed, so you can effectively have no hand, but have a hand whenever you need to have a hand. Tricky stuff. There's also Starlight Road. The TCG doesn't have this yet, but it's a big asset to an Infernity deck because it prevents your massive back row from just being victimized by Heavy Storm or whatever, and gives you a Stardust Dragon to help protect your guys even more. Then there's a bunch of other cards, like the Graveyard is fair game too, Plague Spreader Zombie, Necrogardna, what have you. All sorts of options that you can look into. They don't mind running card destruction, and discard costs are very fitting in an Infernity deck as well. So Raigeki Break, Phoenix Wing Wind Blast, whatever, just the options are endless. Lightning Vortex, that too. Great card. Wow, I've been talking non-stop for this long. Amazing. Since I'm running low on time, I'm just gonna say that you really should hold on to your Infernity cards. Give these guys a chance, because they will get better. Thanks for watching. Bye.